All right, everyone, welcome and thanks for joining us today. The webinar will be in just a moment. We're just going to give everybody a little chance to connect. And if you'd like, share where you're connecting from with us. We'd really love to hear from you. Sorry if I look a little distracted. I'm just trying to manage a bunch of little things. So welcome, Leanne from Snowy Swift Current and South Bruce. Vivian, welcome. We had a little bit of freezing rain here, but wasn't as bad as we thought it would be, at least in the Montreal, greater Montreal area. Some of the other areas were hit a little harder, but that's all right. We got through it. Dana, welcome. Squamish, BC. Aaron. And we have some people who had note-taking, but thank you. Exton. Hey, Joanne. All right. What do you think, Sergio? Should we get this party started?
Sure.
Just make sure I have all my little windows open here. So thank you for joining us for our microage tox technology webinar. If some of you were on our February webinar, we introduced the concept of shadow AI, which is basically free or personal license AI tools in use within organizations that are not being monitored. So we talked about putting together AI policies to put guardrails around the use of these tools. However, while the policy is being developed and communicated and implemented, people are still using these free tools. And today's webinar, we're going to focus on how to safely use the free tools to limit the risks. So my name is Maria Fiore. I'm the Director of Operations here at microage, and I'm joined by Sergio Lima, Director of Customer Success. Welcome.
Hello.
Sergio.
Hello, everyone.
On to the housekeeping notes. Again, as you noticed, everybody's muted to reduce the background noise. We do encourage questions, so please ask them, use the Q&A to ask your questions. Interactivity between you and us and with each other is key, so please use the chat to share your thoughts throughout the webinar. We'd really appreciate that. It makes it a little more interactive and more interesting. The webinar is being recorded. The link to the recording will be sent to everyone in the next 24 hours. And in the same email, you'll receive a link to download the free guide that we created for you today. We encourage you to take advantage of these resources and share the links with colleagues that you think may benefit from today's information. Lastly, at the end of the webinar, we will provide a link to a short 3-question survey in the chat so that we can gather your feedback. So please take a moment to share your feedback with us. We'd really appreciate it, and it helps us improve future webinars. So before I pass this on to Sergio, I'm just going to take a moment to give you a brief overview of who we are, for those of you who may not know us. microage is a Canadian technology service provider with 41 locations across Canada. This year, we are celebrating our 45th anniversary. Yep. We're 45 years old, and it's 45 years of providing IT services and solutions to our clients. We are strong believers in creating partnership with our clients. This allows us to help them achieve their objectives. For the partnership to be successful, we need to understand your operations, who you serve, how your people work, your challenges, your opportunities, your success metrics, what your future plans are. And understanding all of these things helps us recommend and provide the IT services and solutions that help you get to where you want to go. This is who we are and how we engage with our clients. And with that, I will pass it over to Sergio.
Thank you, Maria. Hello, everyone. And yes, I saw a question there. Can we have access to the first webinar? Certainly. I think Maria can provide the information on that.
I will find the previous recording, yes.
Yeah. And so this is webinar 2 of 4 that we will be discussing with regards to AI in general and AI in depth. So the webinar 3 and 4 upcoming in the next few months will be a little bit more in depth on how you can be ready, awareness, assessment, and the tools you can implement. But right now we're doing more of the, the first webinar was sort of like an intro to AI and stats on figures on people that are using, businesses that are using AI without them knowing, employees that are using the shadow AI version. And now we're slowly getting into the putting the guardrails and putting the protection and the monitoring to make sure that that you know exactly what's going on. Obviously, this one has to do a lot with we have a bunch of poll questions that we'll ask you with regards to free AI. So again, a lot of the questions, if it doesn't say free AI, it is with regards to free AI, because there's a big difference between the pay version of whatever AI tool you're using versus the free version. And we're going to look at the do's and don'ts, as well as some information that could be helpful for your business. So we started off with a question. The core question is, can free AI tools be used safely?
And the poll will show up in just a moment. There it is. Okay, perfect. So if you'd like to answer that, we'd really appreciate
so I
it.
can see it. Perfect.
Okay. We're going to give it a couple more seconds so that anybody who wants to answer can answer in the poll. All right. Okay, I think we're going to close the poll and provide the results. So 78% said yes and 21% said no.
So I guess it's a catch-22 type of question. Free AI tools without any guardrails is not good. It's not safe at all, actually. But if you put the right guardrails and you protect your data properly, and your users are educated and they know exactly what to do and what not to do, it can be used safely, obviously. But there's a bunch of factors that we'll dive into today in the next few sessions that will help you, and will help your employees as well. If they want to use those free AI tools that are available. But yes, it is safe, provided that you have the right protection, the right data compliancy, and the right guardrails in place to monitor that. So why does it matter? We saw the stats in the previous webinar. 70 some odd percent of your employees are using some form of AI tool. The only problem is you're not monitoring it. We don't know what type of data they're uploading. So a lot of your employees or teams are using it to be more productive. That's the upside, obviously, the productivity gains. For me personally, it helps a lot with my day-to-day and replies and building summaries of the VCIO meetings I have with my customers, or meetings in general, which gives a summary and a list of tasks to do, etc. So there are some really nice gains that your employees can leverage. But there are also a lot of risks if you're not aware of the types of tools and what they store in terms of information, and what kind of information your employees are actually giving to that tool. And then with the potential to have this data publicly out there, and then possibly available for anyone else to collect. So that's why it matters. It's really important. What you should never do, there's a do's and don'ts, I guess. What you should never do is input any kind of confidential data. So again, let's assume that you are running some free AI tools and you haven't done your AI readiness assessment, and you haven't set up your guardrails and your protection and your data labeling, etc. You can still safely use AI tools. A lot of it it depends on the education of your employees, obviously, and your policies of your business. You have to train your employees to help out here as well. Things like not sharing documents that have customer information, personal information, credentials. If you're working on contracts and you want to revise it, don't just upload the actual contract or pricing or part numbers or internal documents. All of that stuff, once it's uploaded, it ends up somewhere stored in the data centers of these AI tools, which could be potentially sold, marketed, exploited, etc. by other entities. Also, don't take any AI response as your 100%. That's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. Always assume some kind of inaccuracy in your responses. I kind of use it as my sidekick or my right-hand person that helps me out with my day-to-day and gives me some information instead of having to scour through the internet for a few hours. And if your policies dictate that you shouldn't be using the free AI tools with your business emails, obviously don't do that. Run it with your personal emails. And any links that are generated, obviously, again, I guess it's the same concept as like an anti-spam or an email that you receive and you don't want to click on certain links. Just make sure that those links are validated, verified, etc., before you actually provide this info in some kind of document or reply to a customer. What you should do is more anonymized, right? So anonymized and fictional data. So instead of having your document and uploading it, then ask the question of, I have a certain customer ABC and I'm looking to do this, and what do you suggest I respond, or what kind of document should I prepare for them? Again, very generic, not specifying customer names or information that could eventually link to them. Keep them very high level, non-sensitive, always against the sensitive data. So just keep that in mind all the time. Verify your outputs, trusted internal sources, make sure that the links are there. If you see information that shows up without any links, I wouldn't say doubt it, but just, take it with a grain of salt, obviously, because the last point is important. There are limitations to some of these free AI tools, and it does tend to hallucinate or give you biased information based on whatever LLM education, whatever LLM models are being used with that tool. So again, I use it more for, like it says, brainstorming, summaries, little templates, stuff to help you out on your day-to-day. It's phenomenal. I mean, I use it on a regular basis. And it doesn't really matter which tool, just, focus on one if you like, or use a couple so you can compare answers, which is really cool for hallucinations, because when you ask several people their opinion, you get a bunch of answers. Same concept with AI tools, right? You can ask the same question across the board and see which ones kind of are common and which ones don't make sense, and then it'll allow you to validate and verify, make sure the information is correct. So with that, we'll start our first question. It is a true or false question. AI tools delete your data after every session. True or false?
There it is. Sorry,
Again,
the polls
AI
take a little time, but
free AI tools.
yes, free AI tools.
To specify, yeah.
All right. Give it a few more seconds. Okay, well, that was easy. 100% said false.
All right. Good crowd. Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, many tools do retain your prompts, your outputs, whatever data you're giving it. Again, depends on their policies and their terms, etc. What there's specific tools that say they don't, and then others that don't mention it. So you have to assume that they're probably saving your data. So again, be careful on the type of data that you are inputting and the type of documents that you're using, because there's a potential for these documents to be out there and saved, and then it hits a whole different compliancy aspect and a lot of legalities that could be problematic for your business. Question number 2, true or false? If you remove the client's name, you can paste an email thread. True or false?
A little harder. This
yep.
one.
Yes.
Okay. We're gonna give it 5 more seconds, and then we're gonna close those polls, or this poll. All right. So we have 73% of the people responded false, and 26% responded true.
And the answer is false. There is still some content that may be identifiable within that email trail. So, I mean, obviously the first thing is don't, download or save an email itself and then upload it there, because obviously you're getting all that information is being stored up in public area. We've been asked questions like, can I copy paste an email within the content? Could work. I can't guarantee at 100% that there's no source code or backend code that's there.
Somebody in our this morning said if you paste it into a notepad or something like that, the text only.
It's an easier way to do that. Obviously, copy paste into like Notepad and then remove any names if there are any names, and then use that to go in, because there are a lot of information identifying the files that are actually being uploaded. So even if you think in a Word document you're deleting the customer name and your name, the actual file itself has its own properties of who created it, when it was created. There's a lot of information that is potentially at risk and will be saved somewhere out there. That could be an issue with for many different reasons, for security reasons, for compliance issues, etc. So yeah, just be careful with that. True or false, AI can produce inaccurate or biased information. This should be an easy one.
True or false? Yeah, right. Probably an easy one, but let's see. Yeah, we're almost there. So let's close the poll. And so, yes, 100% said true.
Correct. Like I mentioned, so everyone was listening and or have knowledge about AI being, hallucinating certain information. You've probably experienced it when you've asked certain questions. You may have come across an incident where you've looked at this info. It's like, no, there's something that's wrong there in this information. So that always be on the lookout for that. Again, do not take it for, don't take that response and copy paste it into an email and reply to your customer with certain facts and stuff. Just make sure it's validated properly, because like anyone, like any human, right, could be wrong. So same concept. Never assume that a computer or an AI will give you the facts at all times.
Right.
It's always based on knowledge, right? There you go. So next question, true or false, free AI is risk-free for personal tasks. If you decide to not use it in your business and you want to use it at home, it's risk-free.
Very good. Oh boy, that was a quick, very nice. Thank you. Let's go.
Sharp crowd.
So, yeah, sharp crowd, absolutely. So we have 71% of the group said false and 28% said true. Am I writing the right one? No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
100% false. 100% false.
100% false. Sorry, guys.
You had me backtracking there. Yeah.
No, it's because I'm scrolling and yeah, sorry about that.
So false, there is still privacy tracking, data retention. Obviously, you're working with personal information to you, not the business, but I don't know, you're doing searches for income tax, you're a legal firm, you have a document with an accountant and you want to upload that because you want to respond or you want to change a few terms. Again, be aware of the personal information that could potentially be stored within that AI tool that could eventually be marketed at, targeted, sold, etc. By these free AI tools. And so again, whatever mindset you have at your company is the same. It's the same thinking you need to apply with personal, obviously, because it could potentially put your personal assets at risk at any given time.
But if you want to ask it, what recipes you can use with whatever you have in your fridge, that's okay.
Sure, that works. Next question, AI can help you work faster if used responsibly.
True or false? I'm at the right question this time, so.
Okay,
Uh, multitasking, they say you can, but I'm not too sure anymore. So,
Should ask AI to help.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Gotta get myself an agent. All
Yeah,
right. I think we've got
yeah,
all our poll, our
yes.
responses. So we've got 100% who said it was true.
That's right. Yeah, it does help. Personally, it did help me. It helps me every day actually. Again, as I mentioned, I do a lot of reviews with customers, a lot of discussions, and specifically with our VCIO reviews that we have with our customers. It's a 1 hour meeting with lots of conversations, lots of topics, to dos and tasks. It does a really great job at simplifying that, summarizing it for me, and then sending off an email. I send off an email after I've validated it, of course, with the summary and the tasks and a bunch of to-dos. That easily shaves several hours a week. I can't really quantify it and give you an exact percentage or number of hours that I've been more productive, but it does help drastically. Bringing my VCIO post VCIO activity from 2 hours to, let's say, 30 minutes is incredible for me, because I can get back an hour and a half and have time for this webinar.
Which we
So
appreciate.
yes. Next question. No questions left. Okay. So
Yeah.
what's safe versus unsafe prompts? I think again, probably most of you have already started using this. So, general rule of thumb, like standard templates. Let's say I want to send an email out to my employees about cybersecurity awareness. I'd like to maybe create a policy, an internal policy about AI usage within my business. You can actually use AI to create your template for your AI policy, and then work within that and add the details of your business. But generic questions you ask, that'll help you out. I know some of my colleagues that use it religiously for creating certain types of documents like that, or the baseline templates for whether it's a contract or a communication or some kind of document that has details, or a PowerPoint presentation that we need to talk about a specific solution. AI is fantastic for that. Um, Summarize the public bullet points into a short email. Those are primary examples. What's unsafe is obviously if you're starting to upload things like client contracts with some client information, with confidential data. I don't know, you're looking to analyze the performance review of your employees, and then you upload a spreadsheet that has certain numbers. Again, be careful where you're uploading that to, because that information could be stored there.
Public domain. Yeah.
Yeah, public domain, customer ticket histories, anything that involves information that could compromise, your business, or compromise your customers' businesses,
And
obviously. Yeah, and
identify people.
identify them. Yeah, and like the example that we use for the email, taking an email thread and then just dumping there, and then leaving names and accounts and details and stuff. Not good. Very unsafe. So, we also talked a little bit about hallucination. You may have or may not have seen some of it, but I've seen it in the past. I don't see it that often anymore. I think we're still in the beginning stages of AI right now. So obviously these platforms are still uh, teaching their engines, and their LLM platforms are learning as we go along. I would say hallucinations occurred more often in the beginning, and now it's starting to, a lot of these vendors are starting to work harder to ensure that they collects the right data. Obviously, the more people use specific platforms, it does that self-learning, and is able to give you the right information, and it's not a hallucination, or things like I've maybe seen it in the past with regards to dates and some facts. I remember doing searches for some with laws with regards to here where we are in the province of Quebec, and some of the answers I was getting were like more related to other provinces in Canada, and not really specific to Quebec. So one thing to note is you may get more hallucinations if you don't ask in that prompt. If you don't be specific in your question, um, you tend to get generic answers. So when you ask that question, make sure you have, as much information as possible in your prompt so that it can give you the right answer. And always
Yeah.
cross-check your sources.
validate. And then if the other thing that I tend to do is I'm looking for statistics, and I ask specifically, in Canada or whatever, and it gives me information. I ask it, so what's your source, so that I can actually go verify that
Good
source to
point.
make sure it's the right source, right? So
Correct. Yeah.
Sarah is asking, can we please define hallucinations?
Uh, well, I guess I can only do it with examples, right?
Well, and hallucination, Sarah, to begin with, is, a response that is either incorrect, just flat out, like
Yeah.
Sergio said, and we've seen in the past where you ask it a historical question on a date of something and it gives you,
Yeah.
the wrong answer. It may give you an answer because it doesn't know the answer,
It
but it
doesn't know
needs
the
to give
answer.
you it
I
needs
was
to
going to
give you
say
an
that.
answer, right?
Yeah.
Like it
In
doesn't
the
really
beginning,
know.
yep,
Yeah, but
a
it'll
lot of
make it
those
up.
platforms did that. So the early stages of any platform, if it doesn't know the answer, there's a good chance that it might hallucinate and invent something or just give you anything, whatever it finds. That's, I guess, a good example of hallucination. I know I attended last year a webinar that, there were some examples, and one of them was like somebody asked a question like, give me the name of a fruit that's 11 characters long that ends with an O. And the answer that the AI tool gave was a nine letter word that ended 9 letter fruit that ended with an O, but it wasn't 11 letters. It just, I guess, in its learning model, it didn't get there yet. So it did give an answer, but it's not the right answer. Obviously, it's a clear hallucination because you see it's 9 and not 11 characters, but you get the sense it's sort of giving you information. Take it with a grain of salt, like I said. Some of that information, if it doesn't have, it'll never tell you, I don't have that information. It'll try and come up with something elsewhere.
Well, it's getting better though. It is getting better
It
in
is.
terms of
It
either I
is.
don't
Yeah.
understand your question, or, I don't know the actual answer. Here's what I found, but I'm not sure it's answering your question. But still, it's always about validation, right? If something doesn't look right, then like Sergio said, look for
Yeah.
another through another tool or through another source, or ask it to give you the source that it's getting its information from. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. Everything's based on the models that these vendors use. So, depending on how much development they've done, that's what tends to give the hallucinations. I can't pinpoint one tool in particular. They've all done it.
Yeah.
You can even do searches on that. Name me the top 5 free AI tools that hallucinate. All of the common ones are there. So it's evolution, it's learning, it's development. They're getting better as the years goes by.
Yeah. Hopefully we answered your question, Sarah. All
Right.
right.
So let's go on to a fact and fiction session here. First one: if a tool is free, your data is probably the price. So you got to ask yourself the question: why is it free if it's helping me so much?
All right. Have we got all the responses? I've got a few more. Okay. Let's close that up. And so 89% said it was fact and 10% said it was fiction.
It is fact. A lot of these tools monetize with ads and the collection of that data and your prompts and all of that, all of the metrics and all the inputs that you're putting in, right? They use it to improve their systems, but they
Mm.
also use it to sell it, to other people or entities that require or that want that information so that they can market you and target you or whatever else they feel like doing. So be wary of the information. Again, I'm not going to say don't use that tool because all free AI tools do that. But I'm just saying be careful with the data that's stored there. Next one, fact or fiction, removing names makes sharing client data safe.
Fact or fiction? There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a couple more seconds. Collect the last few votes. All right. So we have 5% who said it was fact and 94% who said it was fiction.
It is fiction. So again, just removing the name is not good enough in some cases, particularly when you're working with files, when you're copy pasting files, when you're uploading files, when you have contract terms, when you're referring to specifics. Um, that is information that could potentially be out there and identified, with your client info or with your info. Uh, just deleting the name of a document, like I said, does not mean that that document is now anonymized. There's a lot of factors, a lot of coding behind that can still identify the source of that and potential information that you don't want to be out there in the public. Next one, AI output should be verified before use. Fact or
Fact or
fiction?
fiction?
Just making sure people are still awake
Yeah,
with
yeah.
this question.
They are responding.
Yes, they are.
Absolutely.
Good.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more responses come in,
That's good.
so we're gonna stop it there and say, well, 100% said it was
Yep.
fact.
Good. Again, yes, I mentioned it. Hallucinations, possible information that is, a little not the real facts, maybe outdated because it's checking specific information or data websites that may not be up to date. Again, that's what I do. Treat it as a draft, as my sidekick. Help me with this. I'm just curious to see what I get as a response, and obviously validate your sources. Like Maria said, ask it to show you the sources. Go to the source and see if there's something that is relevant and that is dated, fairly recently, and that it's actually pertinent to whatever question you're asking and your area, your geographic area, your city, etc. Next one, AI tools can be used safely with guardrails.
Yes.
Free AI tools. I'm sorry. That's what we should have mentioned.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. I think we've collected most of the responses. Yep. All right. So we have 92% said that was fact and 7% said it was fiction.
Yep. And this is a twofold or two, I guess, two phases, two steps. If you're using free AI tools, chances are these are tools that are SaaS-based products or web-based stuff. So you're relying on the education. You need to ensure that you have education and company policies in place so that your employees are following a specific set of rules of things to do and not do. So again, avoid sensitive data. You need to anonymize certain things. You can't upload these types of applications or these types of documents. That's when it becomes, in quotes, that's a guardrail, I guess, or some kind of a mechanism to help from having potential compromised information out there. That's sort of like your phase one approach, but the phase two approach is putting specific guardrails in place with regards to your data that is locally stored. So, for example, if you have an M365 tenant, you're running Teams and Word and Outlook and all your tools, and you have all of this information. Now you're looking at the compliancy aspect, the data security, which means now you have to label the types of data that you have or your tagging of your data. You need to be monitoring this on a regular basis. So, one aspect is relying on the fact that your employees will adhere to your policies and this set of instructions. The other one is mechanisms in place that will not allow your employees to do it, even though they know they shouldn't. They're unintentionally or intentionally taking a document out of your network and putting it in there, that portion of the data compliancy aspect is really to sort of like I guess any other cybersecurity solution you put in place, right? You want to tell someone that it's not good to click on an email, but you still need to have the right tools to, should they click on that link, you need to have something that'll possibly stop that from happening and compromise your information.
So we got quite a few questions before we go on to the
Yes.
next
Sure.
poll. So Sarah asks, so do paid AI tools protect your data so none of these concerns are at play?
Yeah, paid AI tools do a better job at doing that because they have to adhere to certain specific compliancy. So they actually have policies that are published, and they if you pay, obviously they have a policy on what they do with your data, how they store it, if they store it, and sometimes they don't even use it in their LMMs models to learn from. So that's something you might want to look into if you want to, move away from the free and get to the paid version. Yes, definitely.
Also, we recommend that you read the fine print to
Yes.
see exactly how they're using your data, because like anything else that we're signing, we're using, right? The Google, micro, whatever, they all have their
Yeah.
terms as to what they do with your data. And um, in our last webinar, we actually had somebody ask ChatGPT how they can remove or make sure that the tool isn't using their information and data to teach its LLM, and you
Correct.
can do
Yeah.
that. So read the fine print. It's important that you know exactly how they're using your data, and they each have their own terms. So you can't assume that because one is doing it this way, the other one is doing it the same way. Bryce asks, can you describe what are paid AI tools and how much of paid should be used?
Well, an easy example is the Chat GPT free version versus one of their, I can't remember how many versions they have that are paid, but there's the paid version. So obviously
And the
they
business
change
version, personal
the business
version.
version. Yeah, they change their policies, apply obviously more security and more compliancy on the paid versions versus the free. So that's a good example. Um, Another one, all of them are pretty much like that, right? I believe
Yeah,
even
and there's
The Copilot free version is more web-based, leveraging engines, AI engines that are out there, versus the Copilot Pay version, which now you can, tailor it and secure it within your tenant so that you can do specific searches and data collection. It stays in-house or within your tenant and not, dumping it somewhere in the cloud or, at the Microsoft site or anywhere else.
so Bryce, and you mentioned second half of your question is how much of paid should be used. I think that
Yeah.
really depends on your
On
organization,
usage,
right?
and policies. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That kind of falls into the AI readiness assessment. It's one of several questions with regards to what AI tools are being used right now. Creating your AI.
what are you using them
I don't
for?
want to make it complex, but create a committee where it could be one or two people or 10 people. But that what tools are we using within our business that are free? These ones, okay. Which ones do we think are more productive? And then establishing, okay, we're going to be using these two AI tools, and the other ones we shouldn't be using them for whatever reason. So yeah, and again, it depends on the individual, the departments, if it's actually beneficial to you as a business to have them using it, or if they're just wasting their time and looking for recipes. Yeah, it's. I haven't seen any. I don't have a number that can say this percentage or this number of licenses. Honestly, I've seen companies buy 100 user environments by one license and others by 50 licenses. What I can say is if you're not training your employees properly to begin with, you'll be wasting a lot of those licenses because they won't know how to take advantage of them. But it always starts with education.
Okay, we have another question. Christine,
Yeah.
she very so she says, I see that there's fireflies taking notes on our
Yeah.
webinar. What is
Yeah.
your opinion on using Firefly.ai versus Copilot for taking notes? How can we
Yeah.
ensure our corporate data is protected if we participate in meetings where we don't control the note taking?
Yeah, there's a lot of tools, a lot of widgets that are out there that are really useful. I can't comment on all of them. I don't know the policies of all of them, but there may be some, you'd have to look into it. There may be some that may be actually saving some of that information, SaaS version. So not, if you think it's locally saved, maybe not. Um, you might want to do a bit of research on the specific tool that you're using, because it may take that information and store it within their engine, that could be publicly used by somebody else.
Yeah, I don't.
Versus Copilot, obviously, I would say more Copilot pay version, and that'll help you secure, and you'll know that your data is local and it's got the guardrails and all the security around it. But even with the standard Copilot stuff, the searches it uses often tend to go out there with and leverage other AI tools, which again is searching and populating other AI tools, which eventually will store possibly that data, and be used elsewhere.
Interesting question from Vivian. If you have a paid AI tool that stores the information with you instead of externally, how much more space storage does that take?
I've never looked at that. I don't think it's much storage, to be honest. I don't have a number for that at all, really. I don't think it's huge. I've never seen an instance or any conversation that we've had where we had issues with customers that had drive space issues, or the excessive use of AI where they're running out of space.
Yeah.
I can't really comment. Yeah.
Aaron asks, what are your thoughts on open source local LLMs such as Qwen? I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but
Yeah, Quen.
yeah, Quen. So open source.
I haven't dabbled into it, to be honest, so I wouldn't be able to answer. It's a good question. I'd like to be able to answer that, maybe do some research on it and get back to you, please, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I know, again, anything could be implemented safely, provided that it's got the necessary fencing around it, and the policies of that AI tool ensure that your data stays local.
Okay. Well, let's
All
do
right.
that last poll question. And
Here, one more. All right. Company policy still applies even for public AI tools.
let's see, fact or fiction on that one. And by the way, thank you for all the questions.
Yeah,
There's a lot of good
great.
stuff coming out there. And yeah, that makes us better because we got to do some research as well, right? So, and then Sergio is saying, AI's no, even though we hear it every day and every single day, and we've been hearing about it for the last 3 or 4 years, it's still in its infancy. It's moving quickly.
Yeah,
That's the difference, and that's why we feel like it should be more mature than it is. But the use is starting now. We're starting
yeah,
to understand a little bit better about how it can help organizations, it can help employees and stuff like that.
yeah,
It does a lot of cool stuff, and at the beginning, that's what it was, right? Oh, look what it can do! Look what it can do! But now it's like, okay, how does it help us, right?
yeah.
Um, all right, so
And
I think,
Aaron, to expand on Aaron's question, we have a customer that is in financing, handles millions of dollars of investments, and they ran an exercise last year on Copilot versus an open source type of LLM, and they opted for the open source LLM. They are a huge Microsoft shop with every single option you can think of with Microsoft, including Purview and DLP and every single security solution. So if they've opted for that open source LLM to keep their data internal, I'm pretty sure you can work around any open source and have it save your data locally and not bring it out into the public.
what is now that you're there, Sergio, you mentioned
Yes,
Purview,
yes,
DLP. What is that?
yes. That's another webinar in its own.
Well, it is, and we're
So,
going to have one, but
so purview and DLP, as in
data loss
data
prevention.
data loss prevention, are the phase 2 mechanisms and guardrails that you will need to put in place for you to ensure that your data is compliant, that the security is in place, that you're tagging your documents, that it is monitoring activity to ensure that nobody is taking this info and possibly, you know, one exfiltrating. I mean, the whole rule of that is just to monitor the usage of files, whether at a cybersecurity level if files are being exfiltrated, or at an AI level if the wrong files are potentially being uploaded. DLP and Purview are the Microsoft solutions that help you contain that and avoid that from happening to begin with. So you set your policies. My users are not allowed to do, they're not allowed to upload anything that is in this, Teams channel or this folder with these documents because they were tagged as sensitive information or personal information, etc. So these are the guardrails, the guardrail solutions that you put in place to help you avoid, again, phase 2, right? Education for one, policies, and then you work on the actual solution or security that stops you in a proactive way instead of having to chase your file once it's been uploaded.
So Joe, I see your hand is raised and I tried to unmute you, but I think I muted you. So I apologize for that. So if you wanted to maybe ask, see if I can, yeah, it's not allowing me. I don't know if you can try unmuting yourself. Does that help? If not, if maybe you can put your question or your comment in the chat. I apologize. I tried to unmute and it did the exact opposite. So
I think it's our team's policies that don't allow it, probably. Yeah,
really,
mean, maybe.
I don't know.
It's Microsoft.
Yeah.
All right, so company policy still applies even for public AI tools. We get the answer. I didn't see it up on screen, but
Oh yeah, we've got
I don't see it.
100%
We
who
did,
said it's
okay.
a fact. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead. I don't see half of that. So yes, it is a fact. Again, you must have policies in place, AI usage policies, very important. If you don't have any such AI policy, I'm guessing one of you is going to ask, what do I put in an AI policy? You can ask AI to create yourself a template for an AI usage policy. It does a really good job. And then use that as your framework, and then you can add certain things. It'll guide you. It'll help you a little bit. But yeah, confidentiality, privacy, data. You may be part of some kind of compliancy. Depending on your provinces as well. There's different types of. Here in Quebec we have Law 25, and then in other provinces I believe there's PIPA, and then there's PIPEDA for all of Canada. You need to adhere to that. So obviously put policies in place, and it does apply because technically you are dumping information or sending information outside of your network, which could possibly compromise personal and identifiable information.
Cool. That was the
So
last of our
yeah,
poll.
that was the last one. Okay. So again, to summarize, reiterate, golden rules: don't never share sensitive data if it's on a free AI tool. Ensure that you have the right guardrails in place. Ensure that your employees are educated. Make sure that you have the right security in place. Verify the information. Verify the responses. Don't take it as the be all and end all of AI responses. Use it as your tool, not your decision maker. Yeah, if you don't have any kind of compliance or policy, put something in place. But obviously, as an employee, you have to comply with that. You have to make sure that you're following the whatever policies your business has put in place with AI usage, with computer usage, with anything really, with email usage, right? And again, if you get a response and it seems odd, doesn't seem logical, something doesn't jive, it don't put it in, or validate it at least to ensure that you have the right information. I hope this information helped. I will pass it back to Maria for the guide.
Yeah, so we are making a guide available to everyone. So I'm there's a link here, and but I just put it in the chat as well. So if you want to download the guide, you can. So again, thank you for joining us, and use the resources that we made available to you. And we encourage you to download the guide and to reach out to your local microAge for any questions. We will be back on April 9th with our next webinar, where we will talk about AI readiness and what the considerations are before deploying AI in your organization, as Sergio mentioned at the beginning. So look for the invites in your emails or on our social media. They will be out shortly.
Yeah, that next webinar is the AI readiness, the assessment, what you need. It's a high level overview, and that fourth one will really be in depth on what you need to put in place.
Yeah, should be fun. Once again, Joe, I apologize for muting you instead of unmuting you. I'm still trying to figure out how to work that out, but it's not helping. But if there's any other questions, we'd definitely love to hear. If not, we first of all, thank you, Sergio, for doing this for us. We really appreciate your time. And thanks to all of you for spending time with us today. I'm sure you are all busy, so we really appreciate it. And we wish you a great rest of day. And again, don't forget, actually that's something, I'm going to put the link in the chat right now, and to the survey where we collect your feedback. We really appreciate the feedback. A lot of the feedback that we received last year when we did the webinars were used to create the topics that we're talking about this year. So really appreciate your feedback, and it's a really short question, so you don't have to take the rest of the day to do the survey. It's a really quick survey, so really appreciate it. With that, again, thank you, and have a good rest of day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.